Hi there. Welcome to the latest Enough Already podcast. Tracy, what did we talk about?
We talked about the latest from WikiLeaks, how people are losing their minds by claiming that Breitbart is coordinating with left-wing agitators. Michael Moore's interesting little take, in character, of course, on the rise of Trump and the potential for him to get elected. And Elizabeth Warren's embracing the nasty woman label. And speaking of nasty women, didn't you have something about Halloween costumes?
The worst Halloween costumes of 2016. We'll talk about those as well. You can catch the Enough Already podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, the TuneIn app, Google Play, or visit our website, EnoughAlreadyPodcast.com. And of course, we also have a Facebook page that you should like, Facebook.com/Enough Already Podcast. Tracy, where can they find you on Twitter?
I'm at Tracy L. Connors. And you?
At Fingers Malloy.
Fancy that.
All right, enough already. Let's start the show. Oh, here we are. Tracy Connors, another Enough Already podcast. Lots of things happening. I just woke up. I'm groggy. But apparently there was another WikiLeaks drop that I missed while I was sleeping.
Yep.
What'd I miss?
Well, this is drop number 18 from Podesta's emails. Mm-hmm. And my favorite of the bunch is an email that goes between Cheryl Mills and Josh Sherwin. And it's from Josh to Cheryl and the team, because everybody has to be copied on everything, of course.
That's right.
Or I'm sorry. No. She's later copied in. Pardon me. So by the end of this, there are about 10 people on this chain. I can't even imagine what their inboxes look like at the end of the day. And to think that Hillary supposedly only had an additional 33,000 emails that she didn't turn over. And why we believe that number is suspect to me. I was thinking about that today.
It's like 11 million illegals.
Yeah. The undocumented, that's the part you have to throw in, because there's no documentation, which means literally there's no accounting for them. But we're just going to make up numbers and stick to them for a decade.
So can we just call these undocumented emails?
Yes. Undocumented documents. So this is from March 7th of 2015. And the subpoena from Congress to produce her emails came on March 4th, I believe. So this is after that happens. Mm-hmm. Obama was in an interview on television. This is not the Steve Kroft 60 Minutes interview where he was asked if he knew she had a private server. So remember this, because we're dealing with lawyers who know how to lie but get away with lying, because it's not technically a lie.
Right.
So Catherine Miller tweets this out, and she was at the Washington Free Beacon at the time, I believe, and now she's at BuzzFeed. So she tweets out, I have some questions here, and then shows a copy from the transcript of who the interviewer's name was Plant, and I have the video of the interview up. We'll stick it up on the sites. Mr. President, when did you first learn that Hillary Clinton used an email system outside of the U.S. government for official business while she was Secretary of State? Obama, the same time everyone else learned it, through news reports. So the distinction here is not, he did not say, no, private server. He said an email system outside of the U.S. government. So that means a non.gov email. Mm-hmm. So this is the tweet that's forwarded over to the team. So this is sent to Jen Palmieri, who's the communications director. So there's the link to the tweet, and then a note underneath says, Jen, you probably have more on this, but it looks like POTUS just said he found out about HRC was using her personal email when he saw it in the news. So then that gets forwarded along to Philip Brains, Heather Samuelson, and Cheryl Mills. So Cheryl then copies in Podesta and forwards it all over. And she says, this is Mills speaking. Remember, Mills is she was granted immunity.
Right.
Correct. And she acts as sometimes Hildo's best gal pal, and at other times her consigliere. She's her lawyer. Everything that they say is privileged. Mm-hmm. So Cheryl's response is, we need to clean this up. He has emails from her. They do not say state.gov. Boom.
I wasn't paying any attention.
I just held all the nukes. And so the question now becomes about the subpoena, because I was looking through the subpoena again, and it's difficult to tell if the subpoena that was issued, it was from the Benghazi committee. It was all subsequent to that investigation. If it was cough up every single email or just the emails pertaining to that time period. But it stands to reason that he was maybe emailing her during that time period. In that, 7-hour window where we don't know where the hell anybody was in the administration.
You would think. But, again, the president of the United States was probably finding all this stuff out by watching it on television. Hell with staff or anything letting you know. He just turns on MSNBC to find out what's going on around the world. I did not know that.
If he only watches MSNBC, he still wouldn't know about her emails. So, yeah, this was a CBS interview, but not the Steve Kroft interview. So CBS is 60 Minutes as well. So with that, he said about the server. That was the question posed to him. And with all the collusion that goes on now, I don't even know whether to believe that was just accidentally worded as such. Because if I have an email address, like I could have a server in my house and be using a Gmail account.
Yes.
But running it through my server at my house is my understanding of how the internets work. But just so you would never know that I had a private server, even though I have a private email address.
The only way I would know is if I saw it reported on television.
Correct.
That's how things roll
in
this country. But I think now we're seeing, we had friends telling us that eventually the DOJ would go after Hillary. And now we're seeing why, in the end, they could never go after Hillary. Because it would also bring the president of the United States in on this. Because I'm sure, if there's one thing about the Clintons that we know, if she were going to go down, she's bringing everybody down with her.
Everybody.
So there was no way she was ever going to be indicted.
Nope. Everything is booby-trapped. From the jump. Yeah. So I saw Trump has been running around Florida today, and he has taken to incorporating more current events into his speeches.
Uh-huh.
Or at least if you get a chance to watch them. He's always done that, but he was nailing this today. He talked about this specific email and how the president was involved, and that's why they didn't prosecute her. So he came to the same conclusion that you and I did.
And now I'm sure Barack Obama knows about this because he was watching it on the news.
It's possible. Although he might be traveling back from the West Coast because, he had to go do Jimmy Kimmel last night and read some mean tweets. Yeah, he went on Kimmel and read mean tweets. So let's talk again about the dignity of the office and what kind of person we want in there.
Wow. No, I didn't catch any of Kimmel other than Will Ferrell came out as Harry Carey, the late great Harry Carey. And
sure.
He got his jokes in on Trump.
Of course.
But nothing about Hillary, of course. But I missed the president on Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm really upset about that.
Well, it's everywhere today. You can find it very easily.
Oh, he's so cool, Tracy.
He is. Remember when he slow jammed the news? God.
I blame Bill Clinton for all this.
Arsenio.
He's so cool. He plays saxophone.
And remember, they did the MTV Rock the Vote started with him, too. And that's where we had to find out what kind of underwear he wears. But locker room talk, God forbid. Mr. President, boxers or briefs?
Can't believe you said that.
I'll free ball.
I'm riding cowboy right now.
It's easier to rape when you have less layers to take off.
Come here.
I mean, allegedly. Yeah. Oh, God. Disgusting pig. Speaking of, so the Al Smith dinner happened between the last time we recorded and today, and I thought it was rather odd. First of all, Trump killed. I don't care that he got booed. Those people are a bunch of jerks that can't handle the truth. But do you find it odd that Bill Clinton does not accompany Hillary to such events?
No.
Okay.
For two reasons. Well, one, they don't like each other.
Okay.
And I know it's hard to believe because we've all seen the photo, Tracy, of them dancing on the beach in their bathing suits. We've seen this.
Yes.
Thank God there was a cameraman around to catch.
It was probably just some vacationer that had one of those throwaway Kodaks from that time period.
It's probably true.
And to run to the 24-hour photo mat.
Right. But that was a while ago. I'm sure now they hate each other, Tracy. But also there's this whole thing, and you see it, and it's true, on, Saturday Night Live parodies their relationship. And it's, get away from me, Bill. It's my turn. It's my time to shine. Get away from me. And, of course, he can't help himself. So they have to actually lock him in a lockbox somewhere away from her. And then they bring him out every once in a while. I think he actually wears a Hannibal Lecter suit.
Oh.
The whole thing. And they bring him out on special occasions. Or they have him, go far. He's on the other side of the country talking to 200 people about how Obamacare is the craziest system you'll ever see. And then they got to hit him in the head with a broomstick to get him back on message. It's a weird thing. So I'm not surprised at all. But I have to ask you, because you're in the Northeast kind of media market. I don't ever remember this Al Smith dinner being a thing. Oh,
yeah. It's been huge for years.
Huh.
Yeah, you don't remember Romney doing it? I guess you don't.
I've got a shitty memory, apparently.
No, this happens. I think it's every year. It's not just every 4 years. It's a big charity dinner.
But they were, Hillary and Trump were sitting 4 feet from each other.
Yeah, the only person, when they were actually sitting on the dais, the only person separating them was Cardinal Dolan. And
there were times when they would be, talking. I would love to have been a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Listening to that conversation.
It's like, I'm going to crush you, you old bitch. You're a nasty woman.
Oh, you're crazy. As we all know, based on Facebook conversations, Trump has been a plant this entire time.
Yes. The man who loves to put his name on everything and talk about nothing but winning.
Yes.
Was willing to take a dive for the Clintons.
From what I've learned on Facebook, Donald Trump is a Clinton plant that the Clintons brought in to make sure that Hillary would basically be coronated. And thanks to Rush Limbaugh, who has propped Donald Trump's candidacy up, especially through the primaries, that's what made this whole thing possible. So Rush Limbaugh is a prop.
Yes, so they say. So people that never listen to his show say.
Yes.
I've listened to him since as long as I can remember. And he's never endorsed anybody. And the way that he deals with his show is by just making observations.
The entertainment wing of the Republican Party has made Donald Trump possible. Forget the fact that I believe, Glenn Beck, who is the third most popular radio talk show host, I believe.
In the political sphere, I believe.
Yes, I think it goes Limbaugh, Hannity, Beck.
So somewhere in there. I mean, Levin would probably argue that with you, but
okay. But well, you could, for the purpose of this conversation, we'll just say that Beck is number 3.
Sure.
Beck has his own network. That's on cable. Of course, he's got his own online network as well. It's the same network. He has been anti-Trump throughout. You would think if talk radio was so influential, you have the third most popular talk show host on the right in America. He has been anti-Trump almost from the very beginning. You would think that that would help bring down the Trump phenomenon. But apparently, Limbaugh and Sean Hannity were just too strong. And Laura Ingraham. And those three hosts have given Donald Trump the platform and the ability to coast through the primaries. It's amazing. The entertainment wing of the Republican Party, which does nothing, has no influence in elections, have somehow, in this election, been able to put Donald Trump over the hump.
Yes. This is what I'm told.
Fascinating.
This is what smart people are writing in places like the Washington Post and in what was it, Investors Business?
Yes.
No, International Business Times or something. I don't even remember.
I don't know.
So forgettable. But they were almost mirror image articles bemoaning all of this and trying to place blame for Trump. And it's just like, how much longer do we have to go before you realize why people like Trump? And Michael Moore, of all people, explained it perfectly. And that clip, I shared it with you yesterday. I think Fingers will throw it up too. Of him going on about a 4.5-minute rant explaining Trump is from his new movie. And he's supposedly in character doing this rant where he's trying to embody somebody from the Rust Belt that's seen their job and their manufacturing base or whatever they worked for just get shut down. And they see somebody like Trump go on TV and say, hey, if you're Ford or your Carrier and you take your business overseas, we're going to slap a tariff on your goods when they come back in. And how those people would stand up and cheer for that thing. And how we've been treated like dirt by the people in Washington, and we're sick of it. And that voting for Trump is the biggest FU possible. And it's going to feel really great.
Who has been saying this since last year, Tracy Connors?
I don't know. Can you tell me?
Who has been talking about these Rust Belt folks? The folks out there, Tracy Connors. Bill O'Reilly calls them the folks.
Yeah.
Who has been talking about these towns in the Rust Belt that have slowly been dying for 4 decades? And saying that Trump's message would appeal to these people.
Well, you.
And it has nothing to do with Rush Limbaugh, does it?
No, it's called people with eyeballs that go outside and experience reality around them.
My God. But this is, look, and this is the problem with America today. And this is my greatest fear moving forward if Trump loses. Everyone is looking for the easy answer. And nobody wants to look in the mirror, especially in the Republican Party.
Correct. Well, and the problem is, too, is there isn't just one answer.
That's true. Now, I'm talking about simple answers, Tracy Connors.
Correct. I get it.
But look, I mean, this is what's going to happen. If Trump loses, and there are some troubling numbers today coming out from some of the polls that have been pretty much on Trump's side regarding, these daily tracking polls from the LA Times, the IBD poll, that all these daily trackers that have been Trump +1, +2, +3 for several weeks are now starting to trend toward Hillary. But so if this ends up being a Trump loss, you are going to have people in Washington who didn't want Trump to begin with are just going to sit back and say, well, the voters were stupid. It's talk radio's fault. It can't be our fault. No. We've put up a really good fight in D.C. this entire 8-year stretch. I mean, Mitch McConnell came right out and said it. Like, we want to thwart Obama's agenda at every turn. But we were not going to shut down the government on my watch. No. We can't appeal Obamacare. We can't force a vote, to override veto if we push it through, even though everybody's premiums are going to skyrocket so conveniently next January. Right. They are such assholes. Look, they don't have a parade of people on there that have pre-existing conditions, and I know some of these people. That have gotten absolutely screwed by this. And these are people that had health care with a previously existing condition.
And now their rates have just gone through the damn roof. They're screwed.
The problem is that the Republican Party has had a pre-existing condition now for 3 decades, and it's called being pussies. That's the problem here, because if anyone with any goddamn sense who was running the Republican Party, who was in Republican leadership, if they can't take news about Obamacare and be able to persuade the American people, Obamacare is highly unpopular. And it's unpopular not because of anything the Republican Party has done to push the message that the Obamacare is an awful monstrosity. It's unpopular because it's affecting the folks, Tracy Connors. The folks. That's what Bill O'Reilly calls them, the folks. And the Republicans, while I'm not naive enough to think that they could get a full repeal, they should be able to try to do something push back, and they've done nothing other than useless votes to, we're going to get a full repeal, ceremonial votes that really they haven't gone after funding Obamacare. No. They haven't done anything to try to stop this. Meanwhile, you know damn well if this were Bush care, and it were destroying this country's healthcare system, if it could delay implementation of Bush care 2 days just by making country time lemonade on the House floor, there would be Nancy Pelosi sitting there making you some lemonade, making it for you, the American people. The Republicans have done nothing. I'm sorry, nothing substantive.
Substantives? It's easy for us to say. Worthwhile. That's easy one.
There, worthwhile to try to push back. Other than, we gotta get the, first thing we gotta get that medical device tax. Gotta get that repealed. Lobbyists are pissed. Screw you. So it'll be the voters are stupid. It's not us.
Yep.
That's why 2016 was a failure. No, I'm sorry. You guys are the Dr. Frankenstein of this Frankenstein known as Donald Trump. Own it.
No, they left the door wide open for somebody to come in and say, hey, remember all those things you were really pissed about and wanted to see done? I'll do them. And not only will I do them, but I'm also not going to take a whole bunch of shit from the Democrats to try to destroy me as a person in the process.
And you have a bunch of people who have seen this man over the past 3 decades. He's only really made this this transition to being a Republican in the last year or two. His issue, his positions go back and forth on a lot of stuff. People want to believe him so badly that they are willing to jump on the Trump train because they're so pissed off how they've been treated the past 2 decades by the Republican Party.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That Michael Moore explanation is so spot on for a lot of it. I mean, it's why I've liked him since the beginning. It's a giant F you to the system.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear libertarians talking about, we got to vote for Gary Johnson because it's a protest vote. No, the protest vote is voting for Trump because he actually has a chance of winning. And I can't imagine. I picture hearing the squealing all the way in Philadelphia coming from D.C. if he wins that night. Stuck pigs everywhere. They're going to have no idea what to do. You've got, something like 25% of the federal workforce has already said they're going to quit if he wins.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. It's like all these celebs that say whenever Republicans going to,
including Obama.
I'm going to move to Canada. Okay.
I believe Obama threatened that last night on Jimmy Kimmel. This is when I want to see Trump Force One just show up at people's doors. We'll send a chopper to pick him up to bring him to the plane. But hi, get on. We're taking you to your new home country.
Well,
which one would you like?
Yeah, speaking of our boy Gary Johnson.
Yeah.
Reason had a piece out today. Gary Johnson's poll collapsed. Just 3% of likely voters in CNN ORC survey say they're going to vote for Gary Johnson. And at one point, before the first debate, you were seeing some polls where Gary Johnson was getting as many as, as much as 15%.
No, I don't think he got to 15. He got to 12. If he had gotten to 15, he would get into the debates.
Well, but it had to be an average of 15%. I remember seeing a few polls where he had gotten around 15%. But, okay, 12%. We'll say 12.
Yeah.
Now he's at 3. Now, do you think that's because people are really starting to pay attention and they've seen some of the statements that Gary Johnson has made in the past few months and they're like, I don't know about this guy? Or is it because people are like, okay, it's either going to be Hillary or Trump? And
I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I mean, part of me would really like to see the Libertarians get to 5%. I would like them to be, because then they get federal matching funds and all that kind of stuff. And
but would they take that
more seriously? Well, they shouldn't, but they would.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. It's like if you want to be a big boy in the game, you have to take those funds because they are coming from way out in left field to get into this. I mean, they've been fighting this since the Libertarian Party was founded, I think, in December of 1971. Mm-hmm. So it's taken this long to get to this much coverage and this much name recognition, and which is a good thing. Like, I'm glad that more people know what it is. You don't have to define libertarianism so much anymore, but just I'm not thrilled that he is the messenger for that at all.
I freely admit you were right. I thought that they should have gone with Gary Johnson, and a lot of it was based on some of the stuff I saw at the Libertarian convention. Right. It's like, okay, we need a grown-up here. You got people dancing naked up on the stage, and nobody wants to interfere with the dude dancing naked up on stage. It's like, okay. But you were right. They should have nominated Austin Peterson.
Yeah, and I mean, even if either Austin or the crazy McAfee, because they at least had a better grasp of the fundamental philosophy.
Do you think that who's been more damaging to the Libertarian ticket? Has it been Gary Johnson or has it been Bill Weld?
That's a tough call. I mean, Weld might be more damaging, but you have to remember that Johnson begged. If you saw that portion of the convention, he begged for them to give him Weld, like a whiny little bitch. Serious, like, please, if you just give me Bill Weld, we'll be able to do this together. And they presented themselves as co-presidents.
Ugh.
It's like, oh, you guys are such betas. We don't need that right now. Like, yeah, I get it, Gary. You've climbed all these mountains and stuff, but still, you're such a little bitch. It's really not cool. And, couching the positions in typical Republican language, and the messaging is just awful. And he comes off terribly. Like, I can't even watch that one interview he did with somebody. I can't remember which news network, but he's sitting on like a park bench. Have you seen this one where he sticks his tongue out?
Oh, yeah.
And like, leave it in there. It's like, I don't know if he was reenacting the scene from A Christmas Story. Like, what am I looking at here? And you're going to tell me that McAfee is nuts, but I don't even know that he would do that.
Yeah.
And if you wanted somebody that was going to get attention and draw attention to the ideas and the party, you need somebody that actually understands the ideas and can defend them. But Johnson's out there being like, well, people should definitely be forced to bake cakes. Like, what's the problem with that?
And the other thing, too, is that he is behaving like a stereotypical pothead.
Yeah, which is really annoying. Because that's the easy write-off. And I hear it all the time. It's just shorthand for libertarians. Republicans that like to smoke pot. Okay. There's a little bit more to it than that. But since we can't get past the fact that you do sound like a burnout, we're never getting anywhere with this. Even though you were a successful 2-term governor. And you probably have some decent ideas. But there's no leadership quality at all with him. Like, no. I wouldn't follow him across the street for free weed.
I don't even know if I'd climb a mountain with him.
I definitely wouldn't do that. Like you would climb a mountain.
That's hurtful. I've climbed 2 flights of stairs today, Tracy.
The big rock candy mountain? Is that the one you're thinking of?
Oh, good God. Yeah, so I was on the Gary Johnson train for a year. And now I'm like, oh, if I'm going to vote for somebody I don't agree with who could stop Hillary, it looks like I got to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, the system needs a major shock. And it's coming. I mean, if she wins, it's still going to come because the debt is out of control. We've never officially pulled out of the recession. Don't listen to a damn thing that they say. The Fed's screwing around still. You don't know if we can raise interest rates. Maybe we'll drop them back to zero. Who knows with all the stuff that's going on. But the stock market's doing really well. Oh, yeah. You wonder why that's going on. You're telling me that people can't put their money in banks and make any kind of interest off their savings. So what are you going to do? You're going to put it in real estate or maybe in the stock market. And also we find out that the European Central Bank and other European banks, which have negative interest rates, which means if they hold money, they got to pay to hold it. They're using their money and putting it in our stock market. So if they tank, that means our stock market goes down overnight. Just done. Like all that fake money just disappears off the ledger. It's like, because it's not real.
Then what?
I have chaos. I'm like gold and guns. I have no idea. And nobody's talked about that seriously. You notice that the Federal Reserve never came up once in any of those discussions.
Well, no, we got to talk about grabbing pussy.
Of course. Well, that's a big deal. I mean, that affects all of us.
Did you hear Elizabeth Warren open for Hillary, what was it, a couple of days ago?
Yeah. I'm a nasty woman.
Someone needs to sit me down and explain why she has the appeal that she has with the left. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. She is a nasty woman.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got is.
Vocal fry.
Yeah.
But in a weird way. It's not the Paris Hilton kind of.
I have to figure out a way to be able to introduce live or not live, but audio clips on the show that we can comment on, because I would love to be able to pull about 45 seconds of that audio from that speech, because it's just nothing but, to me, all I heard was it's like, who waits in line to listen to this crap
and cheer for it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was god awful.
By the way, I've been working on my Elizabeth Warren impression for some time. How
thank you. That was pretty good.
Thank you. I got to take a
pretty
drink of
damn
water.
good.
Now I hurt myself.
Yeah, I can understand why. It's pretty accurate. But she's, an academic.
Oh, yeah.
That got funneled a whole bunch of money to do, work up some statistics that proved whatever the point was. I can't remember what it was that she was doing stats on. It was, I know what it was, bankruptcies.
Mm.
So they funnel money to, I believe it was a nonprofit, and that she's on the board of, or that nonprofit hires her and whoever to do some number crunching, because the point that they wanted to make was medical bills drive people into bankruptcy.
Okay.
So the way that they play with the numbers, they just say anybody that went bankrupt, if there was any medical bill in their bankruptcy filing, ergo the medical bills drove them to bankruptcy.
Mm.
It doesn't matter if it was like, oh, you went to the dentist and there was $100 teeth cleaning that you hadn't paid for yet. Nope. That's the cause.
Have they done the number crunching on how many people have gone into bankruptcy based on paying their Obamacare premiums?
Well, I mean, just your regular income taxes.
Right.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that anybody that went bankrupt, taxes played some role in that bankruptcy. I'll never forget one of the times that we were in D.C., it might have been for CPAC. I was in an Uber by myself, maybe, for some reason. I feel like somebody else might have been with me, but that's beside the point. So I was talking to the driver, and we were bitching about taxes. And he informed me that he had a problem. Mm-hmm. He wasn't able to afford to pay his taxes. He had to choose between his rent or his mortgage or taxes. So he chose his house. And next thing you know, they came in and froze his bank accounts.
Sure.
And I was like, this is insane. Nobody goes to bat for this. Nobody's standing up and saying, hey, taxes are driving people into bankruptcy. But here comes Elizabeth Warren just giving a grant for, I wish I could remember. I feel like I'll try to dig up that article. I think it was the Daily Caller maybe that had done it, but it was a grant for a couple $100,000 where they're just basically like, hey, this is a point we want to make. Can you go prove it with numbers? Sure.
Well, listen, anyone who has been living on this planet long enough knows that at the end of the day, the Obama-Clinton crime family is going to get its money.
Yes, they is. Yes, they is. No, it's really interesting. I know I shared it with you. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it, but Stefan Molyneux, who is wonderful, and I suggest that anybody who's not followed him, get on that right now. He's been doing a great job during this election, and he's totally changed from his primary mission, which was a peaceful parenting kind of libertarian non-aggression principle, spreading that word for years. And he's now been disowned by a lot of the libertarian movement because he's totally pro-Trump, because he sees it as the only way to save Western civilization. But he's had this gentleman on his show several times. His name is Charles Ortel. And he's just a private citizen. I believe he's an attorney. And he's just been digging into the Clinton Foundation files for years. So he knows the stuff inside and out. So one of the points that he's made when he's been on Stefan's show, and he was back on there yesterday, was that the original filing for the Clinton Foundation, which is where you describe your charitable mission to the IRS in order to get nonprofit status, was for the library.
Right.
And it's never been updated. So any money they've raised that doesn't go directly to the library is illegally raised. Point number one. And that type of organization, the 501c3, I believe you have to file in every single state that you're operating in and taking donations in. So any state attorney general could go after them for this. But during yesterday's episode, he specifically talked about the Haiti Relief Fund and how screwballed that whole thing is. So they set it up. Bill, I guess, sends out a thing soliciting money for like the Clinton Haiti Fund. He says that never existed. There is no such entity as the Clinton Haiti Fund. There's the Clinton Bush Fund, Haiti Fund. And that was incorporated. I believe they went through the New York to do that, but then it had one office and it was in D.C. So the Clinton Foundation proper, I believe, I might be incorrect about this. We're going to remember the numbers, though, sent a check for $37 million to fund this, like seed into this fund. Guess where this check was sent to? A random P.O. box in Maryland. No explanation, no double checking on this. So this Ortel guy is like, look, this is the federal government, and the FBI specifically has an entire wing that's devoted to charity fraud and making sure it doesn't happen. Like that's the most detestable kind of fraud there is, pretty much, as far as I can see, especially disaster relief fraud. Oh my God, like that, you got to be a really sick person to do this kind of stuff. Just be like, look at these suffering children, send me money and I'll take care of them by stuffing it into my own pockets. So this is red flag. Hi. Okay, it was going from one office to the other, but yet it's not addressed to that other office. And then a large portion of it just evaporates into the ether. This money's just gone. There's nothing going on in Haiti. And InfoWars actually put out a video maybe 2-3 days ago. They sent Joe Biggs, as one of the reporters, down there because they've just gotten hit by that hurricane. And he's down there like, where are the Clinton Foundation trucks? Like, where's all the help? Oh, no, nowhere to be found. And they interview a bunch of the aid workers, and they're all complaining about the Clinton Foundation, what a joke it is, and how much help they need and still need from the earthquake that happened in 2010, I believe. Well, that they were, If you go to the, clintonfoundation.org. Right
at the top of the page there.
Yes.
Helping Haiti recover and stand strong in the wake of Hurricane Matthew. The threat in Haiti is not over. Read what you can do to help.
Does it involve cutting a check to them?
Exactly. Big old donate button. But I always wondered how much money the Clinton Foundation raises in small donations.
Oh, nothing.
I mean, let's just do a little search here. I'm curious to see. I mean, it's an election year, so I'm sure their traffic has gone up. But I wonder what kind of web traffic the Clinton Foundation website gets. Just curious. Because if it's next to nothing, then you pretty much know at that point that they're not raking in a lot of small donations.
No,
from
there's no way.
It's all big money donors.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's why you get the email saying, hey, the Qatari government or king or whatever the hell they have over there wanted to see Bill and give him that $1 million birthday check. And then Hillary had to dip out of the thing that they had organized in Morocco where she promised the Moroccans she was going to be the headliner, $12 million worth of headlining material she's got there.
Well, according to Alexa, and I know there are better sites where you can go to get web traffic information on sites. The Clinton Foundation website, clintonfoundation.org, is ranked 15,908th in the United States. Around 58,000 in their global ranking, but their global ranking was around 140,000 around March of this year, and it has dramatically climbed in the last 6 months.
Well, they probably have bought a server farm over in India where they just employ people to sit all day and hit refresh. We're doing really good work, fingers.
Yes, 60% of their visitors are from the United States. India, 6.5%.
There you go. I knew it. I know how this whole scam works. But I mean, honestly, like, it's so grotesque and they're so blatant about it. I don't know. Did you see the story about Terry McAuliffe funneling a bunch of money to one of the FBI guys? His wife was running for like state senate.
No, unfortunately, I was unconscious when that story broke. So
no, it broke like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I was unconscious.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, listen, I really, you and I have known each other for a long time. And I consider you to be a very good friend. But I will not sit here and let you badmouth a good man like Terry McAuliffe.
And he was on the short list.
Yeah.
And I know they wanted him. He's been a Clinton bagman for years doing all this stuff. There's a great book. I'm not going to remember the name of the guy who wrote it, called This Town. That reads like an Entertainment Weekly issue all about Washington, the social climbers, both on the political side and the media side and the socialite side, all running into each other. And Terry McAuliffe figures heavily in this story. And he's the way that the author describes him, he's just like any conversation you have with Terry, he works in a way to tell you like how close he is with the Clintons. And then he'll be like, oh, wait, my phone's ringing. Oh, it's Bill. I got to go. You know, just name dropping to the point that it's noticeable to everybody. But yeah, so I'm reading from Breitbart, who took a break from colluding with radical leftists to write up this little report about Terry McAuliffe. So Terry McAuliffe gave nearly $500,000 to the election campaign of the wife of an official at the FBI who later helped oversee the investigation into Hillary's email case. So his political action committee donated $467,500 to Dr. Jill McCabe, who's married to Andrew McCabe, who is now the deputy director of the FBI.
This is how I would characterize Terry McAuliffe's relationship to the Clintons. He's their Cato Kalin.
Yes. Yeah.
To OJ, you know, before the murders, and really even after the murder, because he, you know, helped with I don't know, I don't know what happened then. But he's very much, I gotta go. I'm staying at OJ's beach house, or his guest house. So that's Terry McAuliffe. Every time Bill Clinton calls, like, oh yeah, we're pals. We go way back.
We're buddy. Well, I believe he was working with, I think Roger Clinton was in on some scam with him to bring these Chinese cars here a couple years ago. They were green. Yes. There's video of McAuliffe riding around in those, and that was just a gigantic scam for them to get money. But this all goes by the wayside. No one cares. They've paid off the FBI at this point. And that's why I give more credence to that theory that the NSA is the one somebody inside the NSA is responsible for leaking out all these Democrat emails.
But how did Putin get into the NSA? Can you answer that question for me?
He's ex-KGB. He's good, Maybe they're running him. Maybe he's secretly an agent. He's an agent for the United States government.
Oh,
who knows?
I'm just amazed. I never really noticed groupthink the way I've noticed it in this election cycle. And it doesn't matter if it's, people that just want to immediately jump on the Russian bandwagon when it comes to WikiLeaks because it's politically convenient. And at the end of the day, maybe it is the Russians. I don't know. But it just seems a little too neat, a little too convenient that it's the Russians.
Right. And the logic behind that is that the Russians want Trump because Trump won't go to war with them. I mean, is that how it all ties together? He'll be a puppet?
Beats me.
Because I don't see how this works. Like, once again, the Russian economy is the same size as the Italian economy.
Yeah.
So he's going to let the little schoolyard bully kid that hasn't noticed that he's half the size of everybody else, well, actually like a sixth the size of us, boss us around?
Quit asking
with
questions.
What?
Quit asking questions, Tracy. You're not supposed to.
Oh, okay.
You're just supposed to
No, we're not supposed to point out that the Russian nuclear arsenal has grown under Obama. They negotiated some new nuclear agreement with them. And it ran around touting it. Oh, this is so great. But what they didn't tell you is it actually allowed the Russians to increase their nuclear arsenal. And then we've got that great Iranian deal that the Iranians never signed. But we're friends, so it's cool. Even though we're aligned against them, they're lined up with the Russians and Assad. So who the hell knows?
We're just passing out reset buttons, Tracy. I don't know why you're...
I know, they should bring Oprah in. Everybody gets one.
Yeah, you get a reset button, and you get a reset button. Oh,
and they're all going to say something different, because God forbid anybody in our State Department knows how to spell check in foreign languages. That's beyond our capabilities.
Obama's at a 55% approval rating.
It's because nobody sees him.
But people stick their heads out the window. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. If the news media were truly unbiased and would just report the news of the day in a way where you could assess blame to, I don't know, the person who has been president last 7.5 years. You look at what's going on in the world, Iran, Russia, China, what's going on in this country with Obamacare, the economy being a piece of garbage, and somehow this guy...
Well, hey, 1% GDP growth is...
Oh, yeah, it's true. Saw it on the news.
Yeah, that's commendable.
That's right.
No, if they reported the news accurately, it would be like your impression of the Drudge Report every day. People with their hair on fire. Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, holy shit, everybody's going to lose their health care tomorrow, January 1st. Shit. It's got the Chinese moving in the sea over there, building islands, and then just claiming parts of Japan left and right. You've got, what are those migrants that are coming into Italy now? They're from Syria, is it? That's weird. Why are Syrians walking all the way across northern Africa? Oh, they're not? Huh.
Yeah, if this were
That's
all
strange.
Reported in a way, it would be under George Bush. If Barack Obama showed up on Jimmy Kimmel's show, the audience would be throwing their shoes at him.
Yes. Yeah, he never got shoes thrown at him. Hillary got shoes thrown at her. Everybody forgets this. I can't remember if she was in Iraq or she was somewhere in the Middle East and somebody shoe bombed her.
Boy, whoever threw a shoe at her and missed really must have some bad aim. You're going to tell me the only way she would have moved away was because she was having a seizure and her head shook in a way that would make her avoid a shoe being thrown at her. It's like, damn it, she's so hard to hit because she's shaking.
Now, come on, Fingers. You know she is 5'6" and weighs 130 pounds.
I was taking a drink.
If she's in profile, you can barely see the woman. She was standing in the Holocaust Museum, and people couldn't differentiate her from the pictures on the wall. They're like, "Where is the secretary?" Oh, ma'am, we told you not to wear that striped pantsuit into this museum. It's very disconcerting.
Oh, I'm going to miss 2016.
Let's go to Ben's Chili Bowl. Yeah. It never has to end.
Oh.
Unless, if she loses on the 8th, I just picture the scene in Team America World Police where Michael Moore blows up. Or the end of Monty Python's The Secret of Life. Yeah, one of those.
Oh, my.
She's going to spontaneously combust.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to lose to a backbencher of a senator in 2008, Barack Obama, and then lose to a reality TV star in 2016.
Oh, you reminded me there was another email that dropped, and I don't remember which day this came out, but I just saw it this morning, and it's from September of 2015. And this is from Podesta to Neera Tanden, who's one of their communications people, I believe. He says Biden is going to announce it, or I'm sorry, she starts it. Excuse me, Neera starts it. Biden announces his run on the Colbert Show. Obviously don't know anything, but it's like super ratings push for Colbert. I don't think he'd take him unless he was making news. So Podesta says, good call. Is he scheduled for the 8th, meaning the 8th of September? And she writes back, heard he is now telling union presidents he's running. And Jennifer Palmieri then gets looped in and she says, Lord have mercy. So I want to make sure we get this over to our friend Monica Crowley to add to her stash of what should have been. Should have been Biden.
I still think what would have happened in that situation is Biden and Hillary would have split the vote and Bernie would have skated in.
It's possible. I think they would have taken that old man down, though. I mean, that I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it yet, the documentary that the Young Turks put together.
No, I haven't watched it yet.
And yes, I will watch stuff from the Young Turks, even if it features jank, which this one does not. But they made a documentary about the California primary this year, focused on the Democrat side, of course, because that's all that matters to them. And it's wonderful because it features a bunch of disillusioned Bernie bots that went to go work at the polling places on primary day. And what a complete disaster it was. From people that walked in off the street to go to the training the day before or the week before. And next thing they know, they're a precinct captain who has to get all the ballot stuff dropped off at their house, train everybody that comes in, and deal with people at the polls. And people coming into the polls and saying, hey, I've been registered for 25 years as a Democrat. Why am I no longer on the Democrat list? Oh, I don't know, sir. You're a registered Republican. Well, that's not true. Fighting all that. And then also people coming in and saying, hey, I'm here to get my ballot. And they said, oh, no, you already voted by mail. No, I didn't. I did no such thing. So the gist of this is that the Democrat Party, because they keep showing the Democrat Secretary of State and they're in charge of elections, openly campaigning for Hillary and then instituting these crazy rules about their primary. And they do have a wacky primary because you can be what's called no party affiliated, I believe, or no party preference. And no party preference people, it says specifically in the manual that they give to poll workers, no party preference people should only be offered a ballot that has presidential choices on it if they specifically ask for it. Do not offer it to them. So there are a bunch of people that aren't party affiliated. And so then they have to look, and I mean, it's crazy. And to see all the uncounted ballots, they threw out like a huge number of ballots for whatever reason they deemed they weren't worthy. I mean, it's crazy. It makes it look pretty obvious that they just took that from him. And I was in California the day of that primary, you'll remember. Mm-hmm. And that day they came out before anything. I think it was the day before they came out and said that, oh, Hillary's got the nomination.
Yes.
It's done.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So they try to dispirit everybody beforehand. And then it sounds like that I can't remember how many uncounted ballots there were. Maybe I want to say 3 million, but that sounds too big for the primary. But California does, whatever. It was a huge number of votes that were uncounted when they called the state for her.
What you're saying right now.
It was rigged.
It makes you think, by listening to this, that the system's rigged.
Imagine that.
I know it's a very dangerous thing to say.
Yes, it's dangerous to say that our government would engage in election rigging, in domestic election rigging. Pay no attention to the foreign election rigging that they participate in, from regime change to suborning coups to all of that stuff, to handpicking successors to governments that we undermine. No, it's outrageous to suggest that they would engage in something like that here.
Well, did you happen to see the piece in Hot Air by our good friend Larry O'Connor?
No.
There with her, illegal immigrants go door to door on behalf of Hillary.
Now, do the shadows follow them? How does this work? Is it like Eeyore with that black rain cloud, or...
Listen to this. In 2012, the Obama administration granted temporary legal status to close to 750,000 illegal immigrants under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program. Now they are going door to door campaigning on behalf of Hillary Clinton and other Democrats. The Washington Post followed the campaign activities in Northern Virginia, a crucial purple region that could very well determine the outcome in Virginia and possibly the National Electoral College results. And I could read on, but essentially what really bothers me about this is, these people are teaming up with the SEIU, Tracy Connors.
Sure.
And they're going door to door on behalf of Hillary. Don't you hate it when we have foreigners trying to influence the election results here?
They're Obama granted temporary citizenship to them. So that's totally above board. Makes sense now. Because they just wanted to get jobs in our country. And by jobs, that means going door to door for the Democrats.
What a country.
It's insane. This is why I totally believe that regardless of who wins, the whole thing's coming down. I don't know what's going to be the Jenga piece that pulls it all to the floor, but something going to drop, kids.
Well, this 2012 program that Larry refers to, this DACA program, 750,000 illegal immigrants. Those are part of the 11 million, Tracy? Because it's only 11 million, right?
Right. No. These are children of the 11 million. So that's a totally different subsect. They don't get counted in that.
Oh.
Yes, I have no idea. I don't know how you account for these things. Like I said, they're not on paper anywhere. You can't count them.
Right.
They live in a shadow, so they're impossible to see, to just do a visual. I'm not sure, but I know that these numbers are coming from the government, so we should just accept them.
That's right. Oh, this is fun.
Isn't it? I was reading a book that was put together by a bunch of the Mises Institute guys. It's called The Rothbard Reader, and it's got a sample of different interviews that he gave over his lifetime and things like this. And in one of them, he made this brilliant point that I was like, this is fucking genius. I don't know how you could ever get this accomplished. But he said, if you could take away the government's ability to collect all these stupid statistics, you would cut off its head, basically, because then it would have nothing to point to say, we need to do X because of these numbers over here. So I don't know what kind of legislation you could put through to accomplish this, to just be like, no more bean counting by government. All they're supposed to do constitutionally, the only stats they're supposed to keep are population numbers. Yeah. And that's to figure out how many voting districts there should be in every state. That's it. They don't need to know in the census, like how old you are, how many people are in your house, what kind of TV you have, what kind of car you drive, what kind of toilet paper you buy, which are all questions they ask on the long form census that not everybody gets, but a good portion of people do. They don't need to know your race, any of these things, what religion you are, any of that nonsense. Well, but this gives them the ability to be like, whoa, we need to do something about X, Y, Z because our numbers show us.
Well,
get out of here.
I don't know if I can really jump on board with what you're saying because I'm reading a study from the Bureau of Government Statistics right now that says 89% of the people disagree with what you're saying. So really,
there you go. There you go. But I mean, they use stats to lie all the time. I mean, how often do we hear Democrats dress up things with numbers? Like Hillary's big accomplishment of sitting in front of the Benghazi committee for 11 hours. And then she's running around saying, I love this. The 17 different agencies say that it's the Russians that did it. You're like, okay. And I got an article from Zero Hedge about this, which is actually appeared first on the antimedia.org, which is a decent site. There are 2 agencies that are actually any legit on this list, I believe. And I'm not seeing them. Damn it.
Is Zero Hedge a good site?
Yes.
It is. I can't.
Yeah.
This is another thing that has happened in the last couple of years. All of these sites, and you notice on Facebook, people are posting links to, and I'm looking at the link and the website. I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Who is this?
Yes. No. Zero Hedge is decent. And he mostly, it's mostly a financial site. But he gets into this other stuff. And I just appreciate it because he writes under the pseudonym Tyler Durden. And I wondered for years, because Rush reads from him a lot, if he knew that Tyler Durden is a character in Fight Club and not a real person. Mm-hmm. But he had said that the other day. So in this piece, it says, instead of 17 agencies, only the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, which is another federal bureaucracy, the DNI, and the Department of Homeland Security have offered the public any input on this matter. So it's not really 17. It's actually only 2 legit ones that are even considered having anything to do with national security. But they still don't have any way of knowing. I heard a guy that used to be the head of the NSA, used to be a high-ranking NSA guy. He was on with Aaron Klein from Breitbart, who, again, was taking time out from colluding with left-wing agitators to do some real news reporting. And he was explaining that it'd be very easy for the DNC, because remember, the DNC email hack happened in the spring. That's totally separate from this Podesta thing. And they were so stupid. He points out in this interview, which is up on their Aaron Klein's SoundCloud, I believe, that they were compromised. They knew they had been hacked. And then you have one of the morons over there send out an email that's like, we've been hacked, so we've reset the password. Here's the new password and login information. Then a couple hours later, I think it's a woman. That's why I'm doing this voice, because of course it would be some idiot woman. A couple hours later, oh, we've been compromised again. Here's the new password and login. So he said once there's a breach into something like this, a server like this, it's pretty easy to tell the originating party, or at least narrow down where it came from. I mean, you can mirror these things, this and that. But if they had access to the server, if they turned it over to the NSA or one of the other agencies that has the capabilities, they could figure out for certain who did it. But it sounds like it could just be like a phishing scam where they send out an email like, hey, give us this information and you could win a trip, or something that silly. Which we know those showed up in some of Hillary's emails that the FBI released. And they had sent that around like, is this a potential hack? Like, it's unbelievable how dumb they are. I cannot believe I was rolling on the floor laughing at him being like, yeah, then the head of the DNC, like, again, hey, here's the password and login, guys. Sorry, we got compromised again. Hope, fingers crossed, this time it works. How stupid are you? But can we talk about this Breitbart colluding with the left-wing agitators for a second here?
That hit last night. And once again, the groupthink on this is absolutely stunning. And I should preface my remarks by saying that I'm really, as someone who was a big fan of Andrews, I don't like what has happened to the website. I'm not a fan of it anymore. So it's very easy for people like me to look at this piece and immediately pile on, and you're seeing people do that on the right that are really, especially the people who can't stand Steve Bannon, can't stand Donald Trump. This piece from Politico hits last night, and a lot of these same people who would question Politico if it were writing a story about someone that they liked are immediately taking this piece to be gospel because it's attacking Breitbart. And it's like, really? Normally you would be questioning Politico as a source, but today?
But it's not even to me, it's not even a question of the source. It's how the whole story is told. That the headline is something like they were collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
Breitbart News was collaborating with Aaron Black, I believe is the name that this guy uses, but his actual last name is something different. We'll just call him Black because I'm not even sure his first name is Aaron. But he's one of the guys that's captured on O'Keefe's tapes, involved in planning protests and things like that at Trump events. And so the headline screams something about them coordinating with Breitbart. But if you read through it with a critical eye, you say, okay, I don't see anything here that shows coordination. Coordination to me is, okay, Fingers, I'm coordinating with you. I'm going to tell you where to show up and you're going to do X, Y, Z. That's coordinating. But the way that I took it, and I listened to last night, Lee Stranahan went and did a quick podcast on his SoundCloud with Dustin. And I'm blanking on Dustin's last name, but Dustin Stockman from Breitbart, who I had the pleasure of working with at the DNC. And Dustin explained that Black was indeed a source for him. And that's about the extent of it. That Black has been known to them for years. He's an organizer. He goes and does crazy stuff at right-wing events. And Dustin said he would tip us when he was going to do stuff at Cruz events, Rubio events, and, get this, Fingers, Trump events. So I listened to all this and I was like, okay, this is exactly how I would boil this down for you guys. This is a left-wing street theater artist, basically. Mm-hmm. That wants people to pay attention to his street art. So what does he do? He alerts the media that he's going to have an art show.
No, this is not what happened. Tracy, Steve Bannon got on his bat phone and called this guy and told him, damn it, I need you at a Marco Rubio event this Tuesday.
Dressed as a robot. Oh, he was dressed as a robot.
I remember this now.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yes.
And this... it's reality. Like, yes, these guys are setting these things up. That's why I'm calling it theater. But that's all he's doing. They're not giving him marching orders, which is what, the subtext is and what all these other people are glomming onto and seeing that in between the lines of that story when it's not there at all. And a lot of them are journalists themselves. Most of them don't leave the house to do their journalism. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're not familiar with how this all goes down, but it makes sense to have connections in these things. And I think Stranahan said he's known him since the Occupy days, and Dustin too. So these guys are around. I mean, if you go to these things, which I've gone to them, I've seen people that I've seen repeatedly. So if I was in the business of writing news and I had somebody that was at all these protests and doing stuff, I would want to cultivate them as a source of information. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I mean, Vermin Supreme is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. And they would never say, oh, they were colluding with him because he tipped them and said, hey, I'm going to be at this protest doing X, Y, Z. I might give a speech or something because he is outrageous.
Yes.
But he was my hero during the DNC. I mean, stuff would pop off and there would be Vermin with his boot on his head jumping in there and calling for peace and calming people down. So I wouldn't be surprised if they gave them a car. And said, hey.
How wacky has this world become when Vermin Supreme is the voice of reason?
That was the exact conversation that Dustin and I had. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dustin gave him his contact and was like, hey, I work at Breitbart. Like, if you've got anything going on, if you're going to be here or there and you see something even.
Okay, so I can tweet this out that you're saying right now that Breitbart colluded with Vermin Supreme.
I don't know for sure. I said I wouldn't be surprised.
You're
if
my
they cultivated
unnamed source. Stop talking. I got to write this piece right now. An unnamed source told me that Breitbart was colluding with Vermin Supreme at the DNC. Typing it right now.
Right.
Typing.
But I mean, this is basic how you get attention 101 for your stuff. It's like if, let's say, Sabo puts up posters somewhere. He's now got the Hollywood Reporter covering his stuff. Do you think the Hollywood Reporter is colluding with him or collaborating with him or however they phrased it? Collaborating. Was that it? Was it collaborating?
I don't remember if it was
coordinating.
Coordinating. Yeah, coordinating.
So if I'm going to take their logic, then the Hollywood Reporter is collaborating with Sabo when he goes and puts up his anti-Hillary stuff. That's a lock. The logic holds.
But here's the thing, too, that you can't, and I don't engage in Facebook or Twitter when it comes to anything anymore. I save it for the podcast. But if you were to even question what's going on, this march towards, we got to make sure that we brand Breitbart with this story that they were collaborating with leftists to try to undermine the Rubio campaign and their events. If you even be like, really? Did you read this story? Did you? You're again going to Politica. What? Really? You'll have 30 people on the right immediately come down on you.
Well, bring it, because I'd like to have them explain to me how that logic holds up. I just gave you a counterexample using two other sources that parallel this in the opposite direction. You're going to tell me that the same holds true on that side, because that relationship absolutely exists. Sabo has had a relationship with the Hollywood Reporter now for, I don't even know how long, 2 years maybe? Mm-hmm. Like, they were there when the Secret Service showed up at his house, and they have video when they came to ask him about threats that he had supposedly made.
Yeah.
Because I think he had an Obama zombie or something like that, and that constituted a death threat, so they had to come and check it out. And he tipped the Hollywood Reporter like, hey, I left my house yesterday, and the Secret Service stopped by and left me this note that said they're going to come by tomorrow to talk to me. Do you want to be here to film it? This is how you get attention for things.
Right.
And which is the whole point of doing any of this stuff, is getting attention on both sides. So I don't understand why this is so scandalous. And the truth is that it's not. They just want to latch onto anything they can to yell at Breitbart, because I don't know why. Because it's part and parcel to the Trump campaign, and they're all still so disgusted by it that they cannot accept reality for what it is. It has to be something nefarious.
You're just naive, Tracy.
No, I'm not. I'm sick of these people's bullshit. No, I'm sick of the lack of introspection, and they've all turned into, they're behaving exactly the way the left does now.
Pretty much.
Just blind acceptance of whatever nonsense you see. You don't read through that article, and you're even in the same business, and you can't understand why they would have a connection with that guy. And then to think, like, you wouldn't go to O'Keefe and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he would say, I understand totally. You don't think O'Keefe is trying to foster relationships with left-wing media outlets in the hopes that they'll maybe publish his stuff?
Everybody's outragey, Tracy.
It's so pathetic. It's so pathetic. Part of me wants this election to be over now, but I just want it to continue forever to drive these people absolutely insane.
Oh,
but
what else do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the Pennsylvania Attorney General's off to jail. This makes me so happy.
This is fascinating.
Yeah, this story is so convoluted. I cannot break it down for you in 30 seconds, what this woman did.
What I love about this is, she's appearing before the judge, getting ready to be sentenced. And she's saying stuff like, I don't care what you do, just seeing my children and what they've been through has been punishment enough. It's like, okay, now it's like, okay, here we go. Think of the children when you're sentencing me.
Yeah, here's this verbatim. And her name is Kathleen Kane. She was the first female attorney general in the state of Pennsylvania. Democrat, of course. And that's nowhere in any of the titles of the articles. I know it's incredibly shocking to people. And so this is the quote that they have on ABC 27 Philadelphia News. I don't really care what happens to me, but there is no more torture in the world than to watch your children suffer and know you had something to do with it, because I can't fix it. I've been punished. She then told the judge told Kane her children were collateral damage for her own actions. Boom. I hope that judge was another woman. It was just like, bitch, please. You did this to yourself. And I mean, this starts with like her leaking grand jury testimony to the press, which is absolutely illegal. And as the attorney general of the state, you damn well know that.
Yeah.
And the worst part is she wouldn't resign after she'd already been indicted. So the Republicans lost the governorship, and the Democrat governor even said, you should probably step aside. Nope. Indignant. So they tried to impeach her which didn't go anywhere. This is just mental, absolutely mental.
Well, she's like, you don't understand. I'm a Democrat.
Oh, yeah. We had Lanny Davis from the Clinton crime family syndicate came in, and I remember seeing him on local television on a Sunday morning show or something like that, defending her. This is a witch hunt. This is the old boys club lashing out because there's a woman. Believe me, they tried that defense, and it didn't work because they caught her red-handed in all this nonsense. So she's off to jail for somewhere between 10 and 23 months. And yet to come this month, supposedly, Chaka Fattah is getting his sentence, and he could be going down for 20 years.
It's amazing.
It's awesome to see people get shipped off to jail.
There's a lot,
especially these Democrats.
There's a lot of shit going on in Pennsylvania, Tracy.
Oh, there's always shit going on in Pennsylvania.
I mean, you had a new law, and I don't know. I haven't, really been digging.
I looked at it. Is this the 401k law or the IRA law that you're talking about?
Yeah, if you don't touch your IRA in 3 years and it's dormant, there are people that are saying the new law will allow the state of Pennsylvania to come and confiscate your IRA, and there's still a dispute whether they can or cannot do that.
I did a little bit of reading about it after you told me that, and it's like, no, they alert your financial institution, or I don't know what triggers it, but your financial institution has to alert you before they can just come and take your money away.
They should be able to take it at all. They shouldn't have that kind of power.
Believe me, I understand that. No, it's crazy. But they're poor. They need money for the roads and the bridges and the schools and the old people, even though they run the goddamn liquor stores. I don't know if you saw that little nice op-ed that I put in our little shared documents, written by the guy that's the head of the Pennsylvania Liquor Clerks Union, because we have those. Liquor Store Clerks Union. He's actually technically not called that, but that's what we call him. I think you remember my buddy Simon.
Yes.
The saucy Brit that's been fighting these bastards, and he went on television with this gentleman whose name is Wendell Young the Fourth, and he's like, "What? Wendell Young the Fourth? Like, this is some nobility title that you have here," because he inherited this job as the union head from his father, Wendell Young the Third, prior to him. But so he wrote an op-ed today that it's time for Pennsylvania Live, Penn Live, which is the website that does this. It's a pretty well-read website that covers Pennsylvania's news, to give it a rest on booze privatization. Give it a rest, fingers. So this is his argument. Basically, he says, you guys need to shut up. And then he says, the fact is that the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board generates significant revenues for every taxpayer. Okay. By stealing my money, they make revenues for me. And let's remember, too, we're just talking about the tax that's on booze. And we have an insanely high tax. I think it's something like there's an 18% tax that's to pay for the Johnstown flood that happened in 1936, if memory serves. So I think it's safe to say that flood's been cleaned up. But, okay, significant revenues for every taxpayer. And it provides 5,000 jobs that would just evaporate if we didn't have
right?
government-owned liquor stores, including, get this, 3,500 men and women who I'm proud to represent, who work in the wine and spirits shop. So last year, they generated more than $584 million in taxes, profits, and other transfers to taxpayers. Two taxpayers. They made $584 million in taxes, and then they just handed it out.
Did you get a check?
I didn't. They did send me a bottle of booze, though.
Oh, that's nice.
No, it's insane. And like I told you, because they control the liquor stores, any federal holiday, liquor stores are closed.
Yeah.
And it took years to get Sunday sales. Yes.
Oh, congratulations. You mean you can buy beer on a Sunday in Pennsylvania?
No, beer is not sold. We have two separate stores. Beer is sold in one type of store. That's called a beer distributor. If you want liquor and wine, you have to go to the wine and spirits shop that's owned by the state. So that's where Wendell's 3,500 of the 5,000, that's where they come in, because they work at the cash registers. They're unionized to run barcodes and then give out change. So there's already been damage done to this valuable asset, says Wendell the Fourth. by passing a law that will allow 10,000 private establishments to sell wine. Serious damage. Serious. This will cost taxpayers millions in lost revenue.
Wow.
How? I don't know. If you're making wine more readily accessible to people, wouldn't it kind of stand to reason that there might be increased wine sales? Not to mention the fact that Pennsylvania borders New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Virginia, West Virginia, and Ohio. People routinely leave the state to go buy booze.
Yes.
Because it's cheaper, and you only have to go to one store if you want wine and beer. So imagine how much, and I know that there's a group called the Commonwealth Foundation that's been working to try to free our booze for years, and they did a whole study about how much tax revenue is lost because people just hop a border real quick and go buy it in the cheaper state.
Yeah, I'd be going to West Virginia.
Well, if you live on the Pittsburgh side, sure. But I mean, I can run to Delaware. Jersey's liquor's cheaper. Of course, it's illegal to do this, so I would never do that.
Oh, no, I never would.
But when I go to Jersey to summer, sometimes I come home with a couple bottles.
Oh, see, you're setting yourself up.
Yep. These new licenses that are granted out, Fingers, they will not match the selection or prices now available. Yep, the law of supply and demand and pricing is going to go out the window if the government's not involved in all of this. So these establishments will not hire any new staff. So there will be no tidal wave of new jobs. Okay, what if entirely new storefronts are made? And I don't understand why the now government-owned liquor stores couldn't be turned into publicly owned ones and sold off to private people, and then they would keep the same number of employees, or maybe they would cut down because we don't need that many people to run barcodes. But I mean, woe is you, Wendell. And how much is your salary?
When you go to a Pennsylvania liquor store, Tracy, is it a lot like going to the post office, so there are 15 people standing around? You're like, why are all these people standing around?
No, it's fairly efficient, actually. Sometimes it's even not. You'll get to the register and there's nobody at the damn register.
I'm on a break.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's not efficient. I mean, they're totally pleasant, but then you have to think, okay, you're getting paid somewhere between 40 and 50, I think.
Oh my God.
And you're going to get a pension. It's like toll booth workers, except with booze around. I don't know.
There's a piece in Philadelphia's what is it? CBS Local.
And
it goes back to Obamacare.
Okay.
Open enrollment in affordable care marketplace will bring unpleasant changes to customers. You're only going to have 2 providers.
That's in the city.
In Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And keep in mind, because this is all so confusing, open enrollment is only for people that don't already have it.
Yeah.
So this is people that haven't gotten sucked up into this system. This is the way they did. They set it up to preclude people from getting sick and then buying health insurance.
But it just seems like one thing after another in Pennsylvania I'm seeing lately. Your liquor stores are jacked up.
Yeah, well, they've been jacked up.
Obamacare is getting worse. Well, it's getting worse everywhere, but it's, Mike, 2 providers in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
How big is Philadelphia?
It's pretty big. A couple million people. And you've got some of the best hospitals. You got Penn, which is unbelievable. It's one of the best hospitals in the country. So who knows if they're, 2 providers. It's such a nightmare. But this will not affect people until next year. They won't see the premium hikes until next year. And the thing that I would encourage people to do, and I can't do it as a Pennsylvanian because we have 2-party consent recording laws, but look up your state and see if you live in a state that allows for 1-party recording. And when you call your insurance company to ask them about this, record that interaction. And make sure, because I've gone a couple rounds with Aetna, Aetna is pulling out of the state exchanges, but I didn't go through an exchange because I don't get a subsidy because I don't qualify for one.
Right.
But when they were monkeying around with my policy, I said they had to, send me a letter that says we're jacking up your premium by X. And I said, okay, great. So I'm going to call somebody and ask them why, because I want them to tell me straight up, because they kind of dance around the language in the letter. And of course it's Obamacare. I know this. I get the person online. They can't tell me. I said, this is your job, right? I mean, I'm a little bit more polite when I actually speak to people. But why don't you know the answer to this question? When other people call and they ask about why their premiums have gone up, I don't know, $50, $60, maybe more a month, do you not provide them with an answer that's comprehensible? It's not just, I don't know. Excuse me? Yeah, I don't know. Could it be the Affordable Care Act? Oh, yeah, maybe. So I mean, this is something that if I'm to believe that there was a reason to stand with the Republican Party, that they would do anything for us, you'd think they could at least get something like that started. It's so simple to get people to record. Just be like, here you go, set it up. We'll show you how to do it. There are apps for your phone where you can record phone calls, whatever. Just get this in front of people. It's like you and I were talking. What was it that we were saying? Oh, you said, why is Blagojevich in jail?
Right.
And Hillary's not. And I said, because there's audio tape. That's really the main difference. He's on audio. Like, they've got a recording of his voice saying those things.
And that's all that matters.
It is. You need audio. Look at the Trump stuff.
Yep.
You hear that on repeat. I mean, I was watching, I'm sick of American news. I think they lie. So I watch RT, and there's another channel, France 24. And I flipped on France 24, which is in English, in case you were confused. And they were playing the Trump tape. And I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure the French are really upset about this.
Oh, what did we hear throughout the 90s during the impeachment process?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the Europeans just don't understand. It's about sex.
Yeah.
Europeans just don't understand why Americans are flipping out over this. And now apparently France is outraged by a little they let you grab their pussies.
Yep.
Wow.
Let you being the key phrase in that entire thing. Yeah. Let you. And I love the latest in I think they're dying off, the accusers. I don't know if we'll see any more because the last straw was the porn star that we're supposed to believe was offered $10,000 by Trump. And that counts as sexual impropriety, or what were they? I can't remember the language that they used, but it didn't match that kind of proposition. It's like, oh, okay. So she's an on-camera whore. And I'm supposed to be upset that he offered her $10,000 to perform an off-camera show for him, allegedly? I don't think so. I'm not that upset. And this led me to check out Jenna Jameson's timeline. Because if you remember, in 2012, she was a big Romney fan.
Yes. Yeah,
she's slaying bitches on her Twitter timeline. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She does not care at all. Loves Trump. And, you can't come to her with nonsense because she's done her homework. So I love that. I think it's great.
Halloween's right around the corner, Tracy.
It is.
And there are a lot of people out there that, at this point probably haven't decided what, they've got this is the big weekend for Halloween parties, costume parties, don't know what they want to dress up as. And ramblingbeachcat.com came out with a piece.
Favorite blog ever.
That's Saturday.
Got bookmarked.
I came across it because of the fine folks over at FARC. Put this piece up. The worst Halloween costumes of 2016. You ready for some of these?
Hit me.
Beer pong cup.
That's pretty bad.
A guy's walking around with a red Solo cup as a costume and holding a white ball. The big baby adult.
Ugh.
Guy walking around with the white T-shirt on. You get the baby mask and a diaper. Nobody wants to see that.
No, and just get a bald cap. Don't wear a full face mask.
Right.
Just don't do it though. It's gross.
Oh, the snake charmer.
That's pretty funny.
He's got a snake coming out of his zipper, and he's got the whole outfit like he's a snake charmer. A lot of these are gross.
Yeah.
like a plug and socket adult costume for couples, where the woman is the wall socket and the man is the plug.
And they're so cheap looking too. That's the most offensive part to me.
You've got the Diet Coke couples costume, which looks would be incredibly lame. But then as you scroll down, we get to sexy Ken Bone.
Yep.
For a woman, where it basically just a sexy red top.
A crop top.
Yeah. Oh, is that what they call it? A crop top? I'm sorry.
I guess so. I mean, you can see her stomach.
Yes, which is, kudos. And black pants and a mustache and a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Sexy Ken Bone. But I know your favorite.
Yeah. I might have to order this.
Sexy Harambe.
Heck yeah. But my only problem is it doesn't have blood all over it. And a bullet wound.
It's basically just a black dress, black and gray dress, with a banana purse.
It doesn't come with a child. Like, you think it would come with like a little kid doll that you just had to play with, like a Cabbage Patch or something that you could kick around. It should be dragging it behind you. It does have some feet, boots, and some gloves.
Well, this
is
this is the best holiday because this is the one day of the year where women feel like they can dress like complete hookers.
Yeah, because that's limited to one day and one day only. You've been to CPAC, haven't you? I mean, my God, like thinking about that just now, Freedom Fest is more tame when it comes to that kind of stuff than CPAC is.
That's true.
Which is counterintuitive.
There's a pumpkin spice costume, Tracy.
Oh, good God.
A pumpkin wig. Orange hair with a little green stem on top.
It looks like Velma's costume from Scooby-Doo, except with a hoop skirt.
Right. It's a hoop skirt with, would you consider
But a short hoop skirt. Because normally you think hoop skirts, you think like Victorian England or something like that, or even colonial America, the big old ones.
Well, we're all for short hoop skirts, but would you consider those go-go boots, Tracy?
Yes, those are go-go boots.
Oh, hey.
I think.
But I think my favorite of the bunch, and you can, again, go to, it's either on, you can catch the link on Fark. That's easier probably to remember than ramblingbeachcat.com. But my favorite is the sexy Yoda costume.
I think you just like the chick in the sexy Yoda costume.
Oh, come to find, I didn't realize that was a model. You're right. She is good. A short skirt, the girls hanging out.
Yep.
And I mean, really, all that is a mask.
But it's not even a mask. It's only his eyeballs and his ears. It's a hat. Yeah. It's a hat. And it's not even the right color, it doesn't look like. And she doesn't have a lightsaber, which is totally lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Yoda definitely had one of those.
What is the craziest Halloween costume you've ever worn?
Oh, I don't do that.
You've never dressed up for Halloween?
No, I do dress up for Halloween. As an adult,
yeah.
I haven't had like crazy, quote unquote. If you mean slutty, I don't do that.
I said crazy. I didn't say slutty.
Oh, okay.
What?
No, like the last time I dressed up was, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, and I dressed up as my favorite character from Two Broke Girls. So I was just dressed as a waitress from the crappy diner.
Oh, okay.
And then before that, I was Julia from 1984. So I basically wore like mechanics coveralls. This is my versions of sexy Halloween costumes. But then, I don't know. Do you get dressed up for Halloween?
Well, not anymore. But I used to have Halloween parties, costume parties back when, before I had kids and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I could have parties like that. One year I went as a big baby adult.
There you go.
No, I didn't do that.
Okay.
Priest one year.
Nice.
One
molester
year,
priest or just priest?
Just priest.
Okay, good taste.
But one year I went as Daisy Duke.
Oh, wow.
I let herself go. Yeah. So I had the Daisy Dukes on and I had a flannel shirt.
Wow.
that I tied up, and I got a bra that was big enough to fit, and a wig, and the whole 9 yards. And I was really
to cross dress. I get it.
Yeah. So, and had a party, and then afterwards we went to the bar, and I was really disgusted at the behavior of people pinching my ass as I would walk through the bar in my Daisy Dukes. Yelling sexual assault throughout the evening. It was awful.
Oh,
I can't stand being treated like a piece of meat, Tracy Connors.
you poor baby. But that was when you were casted in that Carl's Jr. ad, though, right?
Yes.
Good. You're still getting the residual checks, aren't you?
Yeah. $1.35 every year. And a free order of jalapeno
Do they have...
peppers.
Nice.
Anything else, Tracy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You got anything?
No.
Well,
Thanks for listening to this Enough Already podcast. Where can everyone find the Enough Already podcast, Tracy?
you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, Facebook, and at enoughalreadypodcast.com.
Music for the Enough Already podcast is provided to us courtesy of YoPolymusic.com. You can find Yo Poly Music also on SoundCloud. Good stuff. I think that's it, Tracy.
You can find us on Twitter. He's at Fingers Malloy. I'm at Tracy L. Connors, and we'll be back at you next week.